This winter we've got into night riding. I don't mean when you have a long day and it gets dark on the trail out. I mean starting at night to ride at night. It's been stupid fun and we've learned a few things. So I'm going to show you the cheap lights and mounts we use that anyone can get off Amazon, and talk about how we keep it safe and just the magic of riding powder late at night in the middle of the week when everyone else is asleep. The whole night riding thing came about because of COVID. Instead of driving up from Tokyo every weekend, we're living in the mountains full time. But we have to work during the day, sitting there watching the snow pile up outside, thinking, why do we have to wait until the weekend to ride that? So we started riding after work, after dinner, after the kids were in bed. Basically, any time there's a powder reset, we've been out there. It's become an obsession looking at the forecast, at the temperature, working week, and figuring out when the next midnight raid is on. It feels like safety is more of an issue at night because it's usually colder and darker and there's no one around to help if you get in trouble. So the way we do it, we're never much more than an hour's walk from the road end. We don't ride any avalanche terrain at all, and we keep out of the crazy technical spots because we've decided that having any kind of accident or getting super stuck deep in the backcountry at night would be, what would it be? It would be bad. Now when you ride at night, it's obviously dark, so it's all about the lights. You need a powerful helmet-mounted light because most of the time the sled's headlight is more likely to illuminate the space station than the tree in front of you. When we started, we had a look at the very expensive lights like the Frankensled from Canada, I think, that cost several $100. But we decided to start cheap and work our way up until we found something effective. I started with a $20 bike light attached to a GoPro mount. It's a few years old, and it actually stopped working after a couple of rides. But it was easily bright enough, and that gave us confidence to try other cheap lights on Amazon. Next we tried these diving lights, which are about $25 each, I think. They weigh nothing and the battery lasts surprisingly well, but as you can imagine looking at them, the light is too dispersed, so it's not really any good for slamming through the forest. I still keep one in my pack as a backup, and it's actually good to have as part of your kit on day rides in case you're out late, but we don't use them for serious night riding. Then I tried this $30 torch by Boyfun or Boyfun or Buifun, whatever it is, which runs on a single 26650 battery. This works pretty well, but it's kind of heavy and the torch is fat because the battery's fat. And like many cheap things, it's got extra bling on it that looks technical, but it actually just gets in the way, like multi-stage lights and a clip and all that stuff. The one we've settled on for now is this $60 diving light by Volador, and this runs on two 18650 rechargeable batteries, which I think is the same battery size as a Frankensled, and it's just got a simple twisting switch for 3 power levels, no dumb bling, and we've been getting about 90 minutes on full beam before swapping out the batteries. And to mount this or any round torch, all you need is a GoPro handlebar clamp turned upside down. So you have to file down the bracket and expose more bolts so it'll reach through the extra layer to the nut, and then you're good to go. I carry a spare mount after smashing one on a tree, and also have a backup mount on my helmet in case the main mount comes unstuck or breaks and leaves you in the dark. So if you buy this torch or something similar, you can set yourself up with the light, 2 sets of spare batteries and the mounts for about $100. Hey Jerry! So what is the appeal of riding at night? Well, one thing is that we get more riding and we get more powder, but it's more than that. It flips the midweek formula of work and chores on its head. We often look around and just can't believe we're doing this. In the houses we drive past on the way, people are ending their day shutting down systems one by one, like a pilot after landing an aircraft. And we're doing the reverse. We're flicking switches on and firing up for a ride. There are no other riders, usually not even a view, just your own world and that small blaze of light. It's a bit like one of those sensory deprivation tanks that used to be a thing, which I think were filled with like a gooey saline water and had the lights out in this fiberglass pod. But sledding at night is more of a sensory overload than a deprivation. Your world shrinks down to a point in front of you, but you get deeper into it. I've never heard as much snow as when riding at night. Last time I went out, I was halfway down a run when I noticed this grating mechanical sound and I thought, shit, the sled's broken. But it wasn't the sled. It was the skis slicing through a crust of harder snow under the surface. And I could hear every detail of it. On other nights I've been confused by a sound that turned out just to be powder snow fire hosing onto my leg. Little things that you usually don't notice during the day because there's so much else going on. Maybe the biggest thing though is the transformation of places you thought you knew well. When you throw the blanket of darkness on a mattress of snow, it can give you nightmares. I've noticed slopes and clearings I didn't even know existed, and I've grabbed my brake to avoid shooting over the top of a huge drop-off that turned out to be just a black shadow on a flat piece of snow. And I've become completely disoriented in a forest I've ridden for years. That's just what riding at night does to you. I think it's good for your skills, riding at night. You can tell if you're looking ahead, because if you don't look ahead, you literally cannot see where you're going, because there's no light. If you're doing it right, your helmet spotlight will separate from the headlight zone and seek out the way forward, and before you've finished your turn, it'll pass back the other way to anticipate your next turn. And I found that trees, particularly smaller trees, become almost invisible at night. Duh. But I've realised it's not only because it's dark, it's also because there's no sun to cast a shadow, which normally helps you find trees. And also I think that the light spectrum of the LED beam, it's got holes in it, and this creates a kind of grey-blue wash that makes smaller trees blend in with the snow so it all looks the same until you hit it. Then when you do notice a tree at night, it's much easier to get fixated on it. It becomes the only feature on your map. You know, during the day you usually scan a group of trees all together so you can judge the spacing and choose a pathway between them. But at night, you tend to just see that single tree in the center of your beam calling to you, luring you in like a siren to crash you on the rocks. And it's even harder than usual to focus on the lanes and not the larches. Hey, one more thing about filming at night. I'm clearly no camera expert, but the GoPro 9, you just turn it on and it produces amazingly good quality on regular settings. The thing is, it feels very exciting to ride at night and you start to think you're doing heroic things at unbelievable speeds. But what you shoot often looks really boring and dark, like this, or this, or this. So it can be really disappointing when you get back home and think, oh my God, that was so lame, but it felt like I was a legend. The best shots tend to be when you're either off the sled or in the trees or with people or something else in the frame. But anyway, you know, don't get carried away with filming in this culture of instant nostalgia. Night riding can just be your little secret, your private stash of power hidden away in plain sight. Too smooth. Way too smooth.
It's Good Night from Channel 2.
You might be able to get Dempo somewhere down the bottom of here,
Yeah,
and it's almost early in the morning in New Zealand.
yeah.
Didn't you say last time you wanted to call your mate?
Oh yeah, they're in the South Island at the moment and they're about to do an 85 kilometre running race.
Fuck them off, won't it?